No. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, she's running my stopwatch, so that I don't go over
Okay, thank
the
you.
uninterrupted
You
3
got it.
minutes. So, and I appreciate the chair, and I appreciate the board for allowing me to speak today. On May 26, 2022, as well as June 30th and July 24th, as written in your minutes, you falsely accused the residents, myself, Jean Marie Price, and John Bowen of 162 Highland Street of being a source of a fuel odor in the cemetery. Ms. Yasko, you filed a complaint as a resident with the DEP, not as a commissioner of this board, when you were dissatisfied with responses. The town officials here, the DPW and others, whose investigated yielded no concern upon inspection by the DEP and was confirmed by the DEP in their conclusion as well in a notice that they reported to the chief of fire. Nancy Yasko, you have noted various minutes and condemnation of the DPW director and the cemetery superintendent in your minutes as they're failing to do their job and not acting in a manner to make your point by using perpetual care money, your point being made by using money to do studies on shrubs and grass cutting. This harassment is engaging activity reserved for the DPW and Local 39, particularly in conclusion of the collective bargaining agreement for the town. You have proposed a wall and shrub replacement in the cemetery to capital planning and to the select board, all outside your authority, to engage work that falls under the authority of the DPW and the overseeing of the town manager. You have not only harassed us, the DPW, you have also harassed other neighbors. You called the police on Highland Farm for a loose dog. You wanted to put cameras in the cemetery to catch the person leaving dog poop. You confronted a member of the finance committee for a dog off her leash. You also confronted a family whose dog approached your dog, who said that they will never come back to your cemetery again. You have provided patronage to a former town official who was on your board by changing a rule to accommodate a 4-foot bench instead of a 3-foot bench, as has been the history for care and maintenance issues that the DPW has always had authority. These are the same comments that I made to you on November 30th before you reached out to the police, called the police and contacted the police and demanding that I leave that meeting after I made those exact comments. And then you adjourned the commission. And then you reconvened the meeting 30 minutes away, which is in violation of the public notice and meeting law, of which you have on your agenda today to hear, which is my complaint, which I filed a police report, which is when I found out that you reconvened a meeting, because I didn't know you reconvened a meeting, which is the violation. The time that I found that you reconvened the meeting was at that time that I did file. I will state again, this board is unnecessary red tape for this town, as I mentioned to the select board last week. The DPW and the town manager carry all superintendents in management power, and stated in the charter how you can somehow have overlapping duties basically makes no sense. The section, Article 3-5 of the charter is severable, and that's for the councilor. It's severable under the severability clause because it's a redundancy organization which is already under the purview of the town manager and the DPW for that superintendents and maintenance and manager. Thank you. And I'm sorry if I spoke too fast. I have 3 minutes. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, I would like to review and approve the minutes from November 30th, 2023. Do you have, do you need a copy of that?
I don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you set?
Yep.
Make a
I
motion.
make a motion that we approve the minutes for Thursday, November 30th.
So approved, I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment on that? Sorry, not trying to interrupt.
Do I allow him to speak again?
No further public comment.
No.
Public comment is closed.
No.
Thank you.
Further. Okay, so that's put down to, the motion has been set, all right. DPW Director, would you like to do some updates for us?
Yes, so,
Does that go to that sheet that you passed?
yes, it's on there.
Okay,
Yep, so Bill Bernard, DPW Director. We had burials continued right through the week ending January 5th. But then it started to snow, January 6th. So January 6th, we had enough snow accumulation in the cemeteries that we closed the roadways to vehicular traffic, and they've remained closed since. And we did have one body stored in the mausoleum for interment in the springtime. Other than that, it's been quiet.
do you want to do this whole thing and then me speak, or do you want me to speak after each one real quick? How would you like to?
Well, the rest of my letter kind of addresses the rest of your
Okay,
agenda.
all right, so then we'll go
However
ahead.
you want to go about it.
Nope, go ahead.
Okay. So your next agenda item is in regards to the pruning of the hedges at the North Cemetery.
Yeah.
So, well, I'll just read what I have. In addition to being impractical, the Cemetery Rule 310-4B oversteps the authority of the Cemetery Commission, as this is considered day-to-day care and maintenance per Charter Section 3.5B, and puts undue burden on the DPW. The DPW cannot provide 30 days advance notice for removal of trees that are deemed hazardous, as this is a public safety issue. The DPW will continue to maintain trees and shrubs as needed, and we will update the Cemetery Commission at the regular scheduled meetings. So specifically, the trimming in reference, the dead branches were cut out of the last round of trimmed hedges at the North Cemetery. This same work was done to the hedges at the South Cemetery a few years back, and the other hedges at the North Cemetery. And subsequently, a lot of growth has grown back in on those hedges.
Okay, so I'm going to stop there because I want to go out over this.
Sure.
So I just want to make sure again that the Cemetery Commission has not had any discussions prior to you bringing in workers that are from the outside that have not been trained in how to prune hedges, number one. I've had several arborists that have come in, outside arborists from different towns, Framingham, I think one was from Sterling, and I can't remember where the other one was from. Had them relook at the hedges, because what I don't understand is you had severely pruned them in the springtime when we in the springtime, or the first of the time frame of maybe, we'll say, early summer, and then you did them again. That is not the normal time of trimming hedges. And I'm sorry, but what has come back from the arborists is that those will never grow back. There is nothing to grow back. And if it does grow back, if there is a slight possibility, if they ever did, you're looking at 10 to 15 years before their start. And they probably will not fill in. And I think by the public, that I have gone out, meaning the Cemetery Commission stood out there. We got 175 names with people that would like to do the best thing for the North Cemetery. And please understand, this commission is only for the cemetery. It's not us doing it. It is the Cemetery Commission that went out to the people to ask them what they would like. And their comments were, we would like to put a stone wall. We had talked about different things that could be done. We've talked about the reasons why it can't be putting in a fence line or doing this. It's not my decision, it's the people's decision. And those hedges look awful. Please understand, that's why I brought, and we brought in, meaning the Cemetery Commission, went out, we spoke with Heather. Heather was in an agreement with it in our meeting, and we decided we'd do a pilot program with bringing in, again, the professionals, which is the landscapers that came in to do the work on not only the grass, but also the hedges in South Cemetery. Those look beautiful. Those are thriving. That's what we need to keep. So when you say on your rules and regulation, those rules and regulations were approved by us, that's what we have in there, and that's what I'd like to go by. Now, I'd like to say, how are we going to communicate when you guys can't even tell me or tell the Cemetery Commission when you're going to do something and you don't? You just go off and you do it.
Again, my opinion is that your rules overstep the charter. The charter says day-to-day operations is with the town. That's what I'm going by.
Well, again, we voted on the rules and regulations. We let Mr. Costa, he came back and gave us some good insight on it. Michael Jeffrey gave some good sight on it, Heather gave her insight on it, and we went forward and approved them. What I need to know is how we're going to work together. Because obviously, you're not happy with, I'm not trying to be disrespectful toward the DPW in any shape or form. That's not what this is about. We need to work together, and this goes all the way back. You never took care of the hedges, not you personally, but the DPW, for years. They weren't touched. 20 years went by, and then all of a sudden, you've cut them so badly, and you've cut half of them down, not half of them, but whatever section that is cut down. So that's my concern, and that's the concern of the Cemetery Commission today, is how we can make it better for the town, and that's our main concern. Dave, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
I just would like to see some communication going back and forth. It doesn't take more than 5 minutes for an email to go to the commission saying that we're going to do something today, or we're bringing the prisoners in and we're going to do the blowing of the leaves or whatever, just so we have an idea of what's going on. Instead of us driving over there and finding that all the hedges are being cut down, on that particular day. But just better communication back and forth, just like you would do the town manager or the selectmen, and just like we do to you, and let you know what's happening. Maybe we can just take 5 minutes and communicate back and forth of what's going on.
I mean, the one thing that I
That's all.
can honestly say, and thank you, Dave, for that, is the one thing I can honestly say is with the arborist, there is no plan. He said, whatever you were trying to do, how did it work out for you? Because he said, it doesn't look like there's a plan here. And that's not from just one arborist, that's from several. And unfortunately, having the people that you had come in to do it, I don't think they are experts in how to trim arborvitae hedges. I just don't believe that. So again, going to the more professional side to it, that's what I would love to have seen, and to have communication with the Cemetery Commission regarding it.
All right, so again, it's a day-to-day maintenance operation, like we've done in the past. I come to the meetings, I let you know what's going on.
You did not let me know that prisoners were coming in to do that. You did not let me know. In fact, you were surprised when I called you that day, and that's what you've told me, Bill.
Right, but I don't see why I need to tell you ahead of time what's going on. It doesn't make
Because
sense.
that's common
We are
courtesy.
trying to maintain the
You haven't
cemeteries.
maintained it for 20 years, until now.
I can't speak for the past.
I know,
I can only
but I
speak going
can.
forward.
But unfortunately, I understand, and that's what I want to do, is go forward. But
Mm-hmm.
all I'm saying is, the past shows us that the DPW did not maintain the hedges, and that's why we're at where we're at today. That's all I'm saying, and that's what I want to avoid, and that's why I'd like to see plans put in place. Tell me what your plan is, what's your thoughts? Maybe we can help you on the backside. That's what we're trying to say, that's what we're here for.
One of your new rules is to submit a maintenance plan by
Right.
March. I have another month to do it.
Okay?
You'll have a maintenance plan.
Okay. Okay. But again, I think, we still were just not there with, what is your goal for those hedges now? What's your goal now? Looking at how they look and what the townspeople have said, a lot of them, of what they look like. What is your thoughts?
Right, so the thought is to continue to let them grow in. When they get kind of shaggy looking again, we'll just trim them instead of, because they weren't maintained for a few years, because the snow trampled them last year, we had to cut out a lot, more than we'd like to, but it was necessary.
Well,
So-
again, I have an arborist that said those were still alive. He went down to look at the ones that were cut off, and he said some of those were still alive. So, and I'm trying to tell, again, these aren't my professionalism in this. That's why I had the arborist come in. They are telling me they will not grow in. And that's why we're trying to figure another way of what to do for the cemetery, which people have liked the fact of putting in a stone wall. It's low maintenance, the DPW doesn't have to worry about it once it's done.
That's, if I may,
Sure, sorry.
that's okay. If we can just, I know you don't approve of the rules and regulations, Part B, but they are the rules now. If we can just go by them, and it says no removal, installation of any tree or shrub without giving us 30 days' notice. If you can just go by that, I think that, and just give us an idea of what you're, if there's any changes that you're going to be doing, just, like I said, it doesn't take more than 5 minutes to email us and let us know. Because ultimately, if we can't do anything together, which we should, I mean, we're part of the same, part of the same organization. But the next step is to us to get the town manager involved, because we both answer to the town manager, and let her do something to have us agree. But I don't think that's necessary if we can work together. Okay, that's all I want to say, because we've been going through this for 10, 15 minutes.
Right, I want to
Which is-
table this if we have to, because I want to keep moving on.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to say, and I've been given permission to say this, is there is a couple right now in the town that would like to give an substantial amount of money to put a wall in. We don't have all the money at this point in time. There were meetings behind the scenes, and those people would like to go forward to have a wall put in. Again, we have to figure out the next steps of that, which it's an ongoing process to try to figure out how to best do this for this couple that would like to put a memorial wall in for the Barney family.
Next.
Okay, so is there anything else that we want to say, or do you want to table this to the next meeting again, Bill? How would you like
No,
to?
I don't think there's any more to say. It's
Okay,
where we're at.
so we're going to do better as far as trying to make sure that we're kept informed with that in the next steps.
Yeah, like I said, I will give you a maintenance plan.
Again, I just want to make clear, again, that we're working on the same goal, which is we need to be told when things are going on. You didn't maintain them for X amount of time, and we need to have a plan going forward of what this is going to look like for the town, for the townspeople, and moving forward.
Right, so
Okay.
we have the same goal. Again, we got
Yep.
to, like you're saying, we got to work together, and I think these new rules they're too much. It's overstepping the charter, it's putting undue burden on DPW. It's, to
That's
me, it's
not
not
our
right.
intent. That's not,
I get that, and, you know, as the rules were being brought up, I pointed this stuff out, yet they were voted in anyways, I get it, right? But
that is our function as a cemetery commission.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, it is. It is our function for the cemetery under the rules and regulations is that we have the right to put rules and regulations into place. That is under our jurisdiction.
Yes, but concerning day-to-day operations, I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay. Again, we can table this to the
Yeah.
next, like I said. All right. So do you want to go to the next
Been
one?
approved by council.
Sure. All right, so the next one, you were asking for a breakout of hours for the leaf raking
Right.
and blowing. So again, that's a routine annual operation, maintenance operation for the DPW, which is, again, under the town charter, that's what the DPW is for. So I had no reason to track hours, so I don't have hours.
Okay. So let me understand. So when you bring, what has happened in the past with different commissioners is usually they were told that again, the prisoners were coming in. And you're ended up paying for the pizza, for the food for them, because they don't charge anything when the town uses them, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, which is a great plan. I mean, it is, it's wonderful. All we were trying to bring across is to make sure, again, that the DPW, or there's no mismanagement of funds by the DPW in certain areas because of taking too long to do something. If there was a better way, like what I had offered, or the cemetery commissioners had offered of, and I think you said you have the blower or whatever, that might be a better way, then you don't have to use them as many times as you had to use them. Now, granted, this year was probably a little different because there was a lot of trees that were coming down this year. Excuse me, a lot of leaves and stuff at a very fast rate.
All right, first, I don't like being accused of mismanaging funds. I don't appreciate that.
Okay.
And secondly, it's up to the DPW how we maintain,
Okay.
right? So we did it the best way we could
Okay.
at the time.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Like I said, I'm trying to do the best piece on our piece on it, and that's why, again, if communication is everything, and that's why, again, I'll apologize if you take offense by that. I'm just saying, that's what we all have to be careful of, I think, across the board. So, okay, so we'll leave that one, because, again, you told me that you don't track the hours on that. Okay.
All right, your next agenda item was next up for the 2024
Yep.
season. So again, your new rules say I have to provide you with an annual maintenance plan. I will
Okay.
do that.
Okay. And we talked about that, so we can move on.
All right, the next one was capital planning budget issues and concerns. So I presented my capital planning request to the capital planning committee in November. Dave was present at the meeting. He spoke when we got to the cemetery request.
Right.
And what I know now is I saw an agenda for the capital planning committee in December 21st, said they were going to review and vote on the final ranking. I haven't watched the meeting, I haven't seen the minutes, so I don't know what the ranking looks like.
Yep.
Well, I
And is
mean,
there another
what's-
meeting that's coming up soon for that,
Well, I don't know. I don't
so
know.
you don't have, that's what you don't have?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. I don't have to attend any more meetings. I've
Oh,
I've
you
done
don't
my
have to, okay.
presentation, so.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you had, and my apologies on that if I
So
missed
we'll
it.
know the final, well, no, what's on that list, when we see the warrant article for the Springtown meeting.
Okay, okay. So I do want to bring up one thing that seems to be a little touchy to some people, and I want to make sure that we're all in agreement here. Bill, when you and I sat down and we put this plan together as far as throw everything we could for the capital planning, because if we can't get it on one side, you try to get it on the other, if that's possible. If that's what the capital plan, does, or the finance committee decides. So with that being said, when you and I sat down, part of it's for the cemetery commission, but a lot of this is for the DPW. So we put everything in together, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I want to make sure that when, someone is stating, I want to make sure that they have the facts, and the facts is that the cemetery commission is not trying to spend the town's money. What we're trying to do is collaborate, again, with the DPW, have what things you need, what we need, and then somehow going down through them, eventually, maybe we'll be able to get one done here and there. For instance, let me give you an example, is just because you see, what did we say? I think it was, I think for putting the roadway in there, what was the total for that one? Like if
You
we were
mean
going to
the-
resurface?
Oh, resurfacing?
Yeah, like 100,000, probably more?
What was it? Let me see if I can find it.
Oh,
The
okay.
North Cemetery was, to
North end, so-
resurface the roads was 225,000 was my estimate.
Right. So again, it's your figures, my figures to figure that out, because I obviously went around with the wheel to figure that out. So it isn't just are for the cemetery, it is the DPW doing everything and putting those plans together. So I just want to make sure that these numbers are not just for the cemetery commission, that this is DPW and cemetery commission.
Yeah,
Okay,
agreed.
all right, perfect. All right? Did you want to, go ahead.
You said 250,000?
225
225.
Right, because it's south,
But
north and
that's-
south.
Well, it
For the
says
north.
100,000 here for,
I know, but that could have been before Bill and I had done the final pieces, which is his pieces
Okay.
over
Correct.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
on the
His-
back, number 16 on my list.
Yeah, his piece will be the correct data for that piece of it, because he and I were still working on that at that
Okay.
time.
gotcha. Okay,
Does that clarify that,
that does.
Dave?
That does, thank you.
Okay, yep. Okay,
Going down
Yeah.
your list. So the next one was the Raymaker updates and concerns.
Yep.
So Raymaker is the cemetery information management system. It's a easy-to-use database that helps cemetery managers track ownership, interment, and marker information. So that database contains information that's available to employees only. Again, it's considered a day-to-day care and maintenance per the charter, and the passwords for this software are assigned to staff, and the cemetery superintendent updates Raymaker during the winter months. So data from the interred from the past year is added, and as he's going along, any data that he finds missing is also added.
okay, so I'm going to go back in time a little bit, and it's before you, Bill. And all the time that the cemetery commissioners, chairs, have always had that password. And I've had the password. So I'm not sure what's changed in your stating this, because the cemetery commission pays for this software. We're the ones, meaning that put it together, meaning we're the ones that, I know Todd had some, obviously, he was helpful in the beginning of it when I was not on the commission. But I can tell you that we pay for it annually. We pay for the maintenance for it. We do the upgrades that we've just done a few years ago, so on and so forth. So therefore, by saying that, you know, we don't get to go in, we always have. So what's changed that all of a sudden we can't? Because what I can do behind the scenes with the cemetery commission is that I can request to get a license ourselves, and then I'll go in that way. Because, again, I don't think that's fair that you're shutting us out when it never has been shut out. So I'd like to know why. All of a sudden, you're taking the stance that it's only personal information for the DPW. I had said back when there was another gentleman before your job, and there needed to be an audit to go through, because we have so much paperwork that isn't even in that particular software, that I personally, as cemetery commission, would love to see that project eventually come to forward and start making sure that we have all the data in there, and have pretty much, you can't always have a paperless office, but maybe that those files can be put away somewhere, and then you have just that database. So I don't understand why all of a sudden you're taking the stand when it's never been there before, and it's never been stated that we couldn't have this information.
I wasn't aware of that in the past,
Right, that's
so,
why I'm bringing it
all
up.
right, and I'm curious, what data do you think is missing? You
I
said
don't,
paperwork.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we know that there was, I think when, before you, there was paperwork that was not put in there, because again, it was old, and you're gonna you're gonna start at whatever time frame that I think it was, I know I looked it up, I can't remember the date when everything was put in for this software. So you started at that date. You didn't get the material behind the scene to start putting a lot of that in. I understand that, you know, you want to do this work in the wintertime. If that's how you think it should be, okay. But when you look at how many burials that we've had throughout the year, I guess I don't understand why it can't be kept up. during the summer months. Maybe some months, you're right, maybe it's going to be too busy for the DPW, I understand. But that's all I'm saying is, you should be always doing an audit to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed. That's all I'm saying. So that's why this is the first time I've ever seen the stance that, we're not allowed, and we're the one paying for it. I mean, it falls underneath the Cemetery Commission.
Right. Yeah, there is confidential information in there. After consultation with the town manager, that was the decision we came to.
And nobody thought it was prudent to talk to the Cemetery Commission before bringing this up now? Because that was never stated, and we've always had it. So what's changed again?
Again, I didn't know you always had it.
Nobody asked again, but, okay. So do we want to table this for another time to,
That's up to you.
what would you like to see, Kim?
Why don't we have a meeting with the town manager and find out why this is happening? And if necessary, we open up our own account
Okay.
later.
Okay. So we're going to table it, maybe get Heather involved with that, to discuss it with her, if that's okay with you, Heather? Is that? Okay. And then we'll go, how does that sound? And then we'll go from there?
Sure.
Okay.
And I believe that was your last item on your list.
Okay. So with that being said, let me just pull, and Heather, I won't do anything with Rainmaker until we have a discussion regarding it. Just 1 second, I have to grab this one letter. Okay. So I just
So-
I,
Just ask one question.
oh, sure.
I just want to clarify, this is section B is the only problem we're having. And I can see what oh, wait a minute. There was more. Okay.
As
I guess
discussed
there's
today,
more.
yes.
There is more.
Right.
Okay.
I'll take that up later.
Okay, so the only thing, I just want to go after one thing, Bill, that this letter that you sent to the Cemetery Commission, it was on the November 29, 2023, it was before our meeting on the 30th, which I know you and Todd were unable to attend. The one thing that I think the Cemetery Commission needs to make sure, again, that the public understands, again, with the gift that was given, which I stood up for the commissioners, or excuse me, with the select board, to accept a gift that was given graciously by an anonymous source that wanted to give a bench to the Barney family because of Stan passing away. I want to bring to the attention that in the North Cemetery alone, I didn't go and measure different benches in the South Cemetery. There are many benches, 3-foot benches and 4-foot benches in the North Cemetery. I literally measured them all. So through the years of the North Cemetery rules and regulations, whatever you want to call it, there are 4-foot benches put in there. I think what I would like to see for the Cemetery Commission is that, again, I take offense of you basically stating, since this rule was first proposed, I voiced my objection because of the perception of favoritism and possible discrimination. Nobody is being discriminated from, and there is no favoritism. What we're trying to do, again, is each family that grieves, again, grieves a little bit different. If the location is fine to have a 4-foot bench, there is no reason why they can't have a 4-foot bench. If there's a reason that they can't have it because it's going to go on to someone else's plot, obviously we can't have that, understood. And I think people are going to be reasonable either or, saying, you know what, I'm sorry, in this location that you've picked, we cannot give you a 4-foot bench because it is going to go on somebody else's side. I mean, in the past, and I'm just going to use this as an example, there is a grave site in there that is larger than most. Well, the reason that was put in is because they bought, we'll say, I don't know if there's 3 lots or whatever, so it makes the grave site much longer. The size is probably, the tallness is probably about the same. But that's all I'm saying. Nobody's trying to discriminate in any shape or form. And when you say that, you know, you don't like it if we overstep our boundaries, what I don't like is that you took it upon the DPW side is to talk to someone in the town that wanted to have a 4-foot bench, that probably could have had a 4-foot bench, and you told her, under no circumstances could they have that. They had to have a 3. I take offense of that as cemetery commissioner. You never contacted us for us to talk, to kind of discuss this in the area. If Todd had a reason why that shouldn't go there, and there was a reasonable reason why, because it was, again, going onto someone else's property of another lot, then we understood, and that person would have understood. So all I'm saying is, can you just kind of share with me why you put that language down there?
Well, I disagree. We had somebody approach the superintendent asking for a larger bench, and we pointed out the rule that says no, 3 feet, but we also pointed out that you can go to the cemetery commission and ask for a bigger one. That's up to them. If they didn't do it, that's up to them.
Oh, they didn't, so my apologies, that wasn't stated to me. That's all I'm saying, is that was not stated to me. They basically felt very sheepish because you basically, again, that it was stated that they couldn't have a 4-foot bench. So I just, again, like to work together with that, regarding that. And I think the benches, like I said, there's other benches that are in there that are that. And I think we do have to be careful because, again, I understand in some areas it might be too tight and you can't have a foot bench. So let's just, again, let's try to work together better on that if everybody's, right. Is there anything else you'd like?
And again, my opinion on the rule that, you know, allows you to change the rules, I think you're opening up a can of worms. Somebody's going to come and say, I want a 10-foot high monument. How do you say no now? You can't.
Easily.
You can't.
No,
You
we
can't
have.
say no.
We have before, because there are some that, you know, yes, they have to come. I mean, obviously, you're not going to have 10 foot or whatever, but there are some that are taller in there, and I don't think you can have everything uniform 100%. I just don't, Dave, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Right now, I think we're just going to have to go by the rules and regulations that we have in place.
Which is states that each one,
Yeah.
comes to us.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
and we can make the decision, and we can also, you'll be at the meetings, so you can have your input for each of them. I just don't see with the new rules and regulations why we still can't work together. I mean, there's going to be exceptions, and you're going to state the exceptions at the time during the meeting, and we can approve those exceptions. But I just don't see why. I think that's what the problem is that we're having in this town, where some departments are not working with other departments, where there shouldn't, we're just human beings, we should be able to work together, get rid of some of the problems by figuring things out. Just because there's a law on the books, you know, and someone goes against those laws doesn't mean that we can't work things out still. You know, it's just, there's got to be a way of doing it. There's got to be. So I understand that you're against some of the rules and regulations, but we got to be able to work it out, one way or another.
I agree too.
Okay?
I agree with that.
And it doesn't mean that we can't, that you aren't going to do what we ask, and it's not going to mean that we're going to be sticklers by what's in here. It's just that at the meetings, you're gonna have to say, hey, you know, this says this, and this month we're not gonna be able to do that, and why we're not gonna be able to do it, and let's work it out so that, you know, something else is done in its place.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable approach.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move on from that. The only other thing, and then I'll turn it over to the attorney, is we have to come up with, and I don't know if you've been working on this, Bill, for the, I think it's for the book at the end of the year, or excuse me, coming up in March, the town report. Have you worked on that yet?
I have not.
Okay,
So last year, the commission wrote it, they sent it over to me. I changed a couple little words around.
okay.
And
So
we-
are you
we
okay with
added-
us doing that again?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
We added in the number of burials.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this to Dave to just quickly read now, and then, again, we can wordsmith this a little bit. I just put some thoughts together regarding that. So if you can just give Dave about 5 minutes to look at that. And that has to be in, I believe, by the 14th, 15th?
What's the date?
I think,
I forget
let me
the
think.
date.
No,
It's-
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the 14th, it's this month, February, and then the March
Right.
one is the other, right? Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
so you approve that?
I approve
Okay.
that.
So do we want to make a motion of approving?
I'll make a motion to approve the cemetery commission's,
It's for the report.
the March report.
I second it. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So I will, when I get back home, I'll get this to you, so you have that.
Good.
Okay. Okay. And I'd like to now turn this over to Attorney Costa regarding the response to the open meeting law complaint by Mr. Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have just a couple copies here, one for each of you. I presume you've seen this. I hope that you've seen this
Yes.
before, each of you.
Yes.
So just to review the way that the open meeting law process works, I'm not sure how familiar you might be with it, but when the open meeting law was recodified back in the early 2010s, they created a new process for those who believe there have been violations of the open meeting law to wage a complaint. And the complaint gets submitted in the first instance by the complainant to the public body that complainant believes has violated the open meeting law. And there is a period of time within which the public body can review the substance of the complaint, can investigate the substance of the complaint, and can prepare a response. That response gets sent to the complainant and also gets filed with the Division of Open Government, which is a new division within the Attorney General's office that was created at the time that the open meeting law was recodified. And the sole purpose of that division is to review these sorts of complaints in the event that the complainant is dissatisfied with the response that it gets from the public body. So in many instances, a complainant will be satisfied with the response it gets. Maybe the public body admits that there was an oversight. Maybe the public body provides an explanation as to why a violation didn't occur. If the complainant is satisfied with the response it gets, then it ends there. That's the end of the process. Nothing more occurs. If the complainant is dissatisfied with the answer that it gets, that the complainant has an opportunity then to make a filing of its own with the Division of Open Government, and the division will conduct its own investigation. That investigation typically consists of telephone calls, conversations had with the complainant and with the member or members of the board or commission in this case that are alleged to have violated the open meeting law. And then after a period of time, usually it's within 45 to 60 days, sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's a bit longer, the Division of Open Government will make a determination as to whether the law has been violated and will order any sort of a remedy that it thinks is appropriate. So that's the process. In this case, we received an open meeting law complaint. That complaint was originally filed on, let me find the date here, on January 17th. The complaint was completed utilizing the Division of Open Government's open meeting law complaint form. I know that you've both seen it because once I received it, I sent it to both members so that they could review it in advance. Obviously, the complaint itself is not something created by any board member, so that's completely legit within the confines of the open meeting law for that to be sent to commission members. It's just a two-page form, but there's a description of the alleged violation by Mr. Bowen, the complainant, and then there's a request for certain actions to be undertaken by the public body. What I then did is I conducted my own investigation, as I often do, and I've done it many times for the communities we represent, including probably more than a dozen times over the years in the town of Lunenburg. And conducted an investigation of the facts. Obviously, I'm quite familiar with the law because we receive these on behalf of our municipalities with some frequency. And I prepared a proposed response, which I circulated in advance. Again, this is my work product, and so I sent it along to both board members so they could review it in advance, but we've not had an opportunity to discuss it because we can't have this sort of a conversation outside of an open public meeting. That's why we're here. So it's a relatively straightforward response. It's a couple of paragraphs, although you'll see there are quite a few footnotes that take up the better part of the first page. But really, you'll see the essence of the response is, in my opinion, and I believe it's reflected in the language of the open meeting law, that the request is untimely. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. So the way that the open meeting law is structured, a complainant, an individual that believes that the open meeting law has been violated, has 30 days from the date of the alleged violation to make a request of the Division of Open Government, initially to make the request of this commission, and then subsequently to pursue its appeal further with the division, claiming that the violation of the open meeting law has occurred. That 30-day runs, again, from the date of the alleged violation. There is a provision in the law, and I believe saw some subsequent correspondence, some email correspondence that was received from Mr. Bowen, where he indicates that it was not made known to him, he did not become aware that an alleged violation had occurred until sometime long after the date of the meeting, November 30th of 2023. There is a provision in the open meeting law, specifically in the regulations, that say that the complaint shall be filed within 30 days of the alleged violation, or if the alleged violation could not reasonably have been known at the time it occurred, then within 30 days of the date it should reasonably have been discovered. So there's that catch-all language at the end that talks about an alternate circumstance. Might be difficult to know exactly what that means if you weren't familiar with the various decisions that have been rendered by the Division of Open Government interpreting that language. And what the division has said is what they mean by that language and where it typically applies are circumstances where the complainant could not have known that a violation occurred because, for example, and this is typically the circumstance in which it arises, the discussion that was a violation occurred in executive session. If your commission conducts an executive session today, well, executive sessions are private. And so the public wouldn't know if you were committing violations in that executive session until such time as maybe 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, you release the executive session minutes because the privilege is released, and at that point it becomes known that there was a violation. In that instance, the 30 days would run from the date that those minutes got released. In this case, the violation was alleged to have occurred at a meeting that happened on November 30th. That was an open public meeting. Mr. Bowen was in attendance at that meeting. It's reflected in the draft meeting minutes, which I've had an opportunity to review. And so this wasn't a circumstance where the violation occurred in a private executive session. The alleged violation occurred at an open meeting on November 30th. And so without addressing the real substance of the complaint, you'll see that the response that I've prepared, and we've done this before because there have been other instances in Lunenburg where complainants have made their complaint filings after the 30 days. I've simply responded by saying that the Division of Open Government has no jurisdiction because the deadline was not satisfied. There are, and this goes to the comment I made before about the footnotes, there are some clarifying footnotes because I thought it was important in light of the nature of the complaint, without addressing all of the substance of the complaint, to just highlight a few points made in the complaint and provide sort of brief feedback on those. And so one is that in addition to naming the commission and the two members of the commission as the specific persons who are alleged to have violated the open meeting law, Michael Ray Jeffries, the chair of the town select board, is also named as a specific person, even though the select board itself is not named as a public body. So that's a bit unusual. I would argue that's an error in the complaint, and I don't fault anybody for that. I appreciate that complainants aren't necessarily familiar with this process because they don't complete open meeting law complaints on a weekly basis. But the select board's not named. Michael Ray Jeffries is named. I've consulted with Michael Ray specifically, and I've got authorization to include it as a footnote here that to the extent that there is a response required from him, that this can be considered his response as well. I have the ability to do that because I'm responding on behalf not only of the commission, but I can respond on his behalf as well as town council. So I've included a footnote to say that. Another footnote I've included here addresses the fact that the description of the alleged violation, and it was difficult to read in the actual form, and again, I appreciate that this is a state form and you don't have a lot of flexibility as to how you include the data, but it was very small font, right? So I actually copied it and pasted it into a Word document so I could read it in a larger font. So I read through it in some detail, and there are some allegations here of what I'll just refer to as civil rights violations. Now, I'm not going to get into the merits of those violations because not necessarily my role at this stage in the process, but I will say that this is not the right forum in the context of an open meeting law complaint to be advancing claims of civil rights violations. And so I've simply included a footnote here stating that, those violations those alleged violations are denied, but again, it would not be through the open meeting law complaint process that an alleged civil rights violation would be adjudicated. The focus of an open meeting law complaint is on violations either of the state statute known as the open meeting law or the accompanying regulations that were adopted by the Division of Open Government. And so the focus is on the actual meeting that occurred and whether something happened in that meeting, before that meeting, subsequent to that meeting, that constituted a violation of the open meeting law. So I've included a footnote addressing that issue. So that's the proposed response. Again, the process at this stage would be for you to ask any questions that you have of me concerning the proposed response. Certainly, you're not obligated to sign off on the proposed response. If you disagree with it, you could go in a different direction. However, if you do agree with it, you would then take a vote today to authorize me to submit this on behalf of the commission.
Okay.
By my calculation, your deadline, which is 14 business days from the date that the complaint was received, is tomorrow. And so no later than tomorrow, probably later today, I will finalize this. I will submit a final copy of it if it gets your vote to the complainant. I will submit a copy to the Division of Open Government as well. And then, as I mentioned before, the complainant has further rights if it wants to pursue its complaint with the division.
Okay.
You make the motion.
Yep, hang on one second. I just want to give one piece. It's not a big deal.
Speak into the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
So, on the page, it's not a big deal, it's just a little typo.
Yes.
Michael J. Jeffries, you have it spelled the correct way, and you have it an incorrect way.
So I do, and I have it in the footnote, and you see in the parentheses there, it says SIC.
Oh, okay.
That's because I'm actually quoting the complaint, and the
Okay.
complainant misspelled it.
Sorry.
But I've got to correct it elsewhere.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay. So Dave, did you, are you comfortable with this?
I'm comfortable.
You're comfortable? Okay, so let's make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'd make a motion to accept this as it's written today by Attorney Costa to take this forward. For the
Second.
complaint. Second, and then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, so thank you. I will provide a final copy to the commission, final signed copy, and as I said, I will send it along with a letter of transmittal to the Division of Open Government and send the original letter to the complainant either later today or tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. And I'd just like to say from the Cemetery Commission, thank you so much for your expertise on this. Is there anything else? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one question before we adjourn. A lot of the stuff that's been happening back and forth, and I don't know where to go because I thought it would be public record in the town website, but I don't see it. But a lot of things going back and forth is the superintendent of the cemetery has job description that you're supposed to fulfill, that you think that some of the new rules and regulations might not abide by. Can we get a copy of the Cemetery Commission of that job description? Because I thought it would be on, I thought everyone's job description would be on the website. It's not. So can we get that so we can see what the difference is between that
Yeah,
job description and what the rules and regulations are? Because maybe you're right, maybe we need to change some things.
Right, I can provide a copy of the job description, but I don't see where you're gonna find discrepancies. And I don't know, I'm not
Because
sure
I
what you're
thought
looking
that's what you
for.
were mentioning in early meetings,
No,
that there are some things that he doesn't have to do that we're requesting, or vice versa. But,
and I don't recall saying anything like that, but,
Okay.
yeah, I'll provide you with the job
Okay.
description.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can, I just want to make sure that we're able to work together, and that things that he's supposed to be doing or not supposed to be doing agree with what we have in the rules and regulations. Okay? Just to work together, getting things done. Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay. So the only other thing I want to bring to the attention, I know we try to do the third Thursday of each month. That March 21st, I know the deadline to put in, if we're going to, the Cemetery Commission is going to put X amount of dollars in for this year, so on and so forth. We've got to do it by, I believe, is the 15th of March. So I think we want to have the meeting prior to that, so we can, if there's something that you need from our side, that again, that falls under the rules and regulations of having X amount of money on our side as far as the Cemetery Commission. We usually take that out $10,000 a year. So do you think that's pertinent that we should meet by the 15th? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, if you plan to submit a warrant article.
Right.
Then, yeah, you should meet before,
Okay,
so you have agreement.
let me work on a date and then I'll send it to everyone and see if it's okay. Now, the other thing is, I know, Heather, this isn't convenient for you guys for us to meet here, is that correct? Because during business hours, or is this fine with you? Because I do have another location that's offered, which is the Water District, which I guess they have a huge meeting room and they allow people to come in, and they do have that it's accessible by making sure that it's recorded.
Public access,
Yes.
I would say you should try to schedule your meetings at a town building versus the water district, which is not part of the town.
Oh, okay. All right, that's a good point. So are you okay with, I mean, if we try to keep it as, as quick as we can with this, does that bother you in your day-to-day business here, one Thursday a month? Or
I would
Tuesday?
just say touch base with us, make sure there's nothing already scheduled.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't hear that, what you said.
She said, make sure there's nothing scheduled before.
Oh, okay.
And are you okay with it, too?
Yeah, and, alternatively, we can meet at the DPW, we can record the meeting on Zoom.
Do you have someone that, see, the problem with just having two is until we can get a third person on this committee. Is that something that's easy, that somebody can just run, or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
We just need to, submit the agenda, set up the Zoom, and you basically just hit record,
okay.
right?
So we can talk about that if that's,
I can operate the computer, I can
Okay.
do that in, yeah.
so maybe do one more
Do you
here.
have a
Okay, we
camera,
can,
or is it just by phone?
It's a camera.
Oh, you have the camera set up?
okay.
Okay.
All right, so we can discuss that to go forward. Okay. Is there anything else?
So are we still making,
So, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send everybody a note, and then we can figure out the date. We'll change the date. So it gets it before the 15th. Okay, if everything else, is there anything more? Is there anything for you?
Not for me, thank you.
Okay.
all set?
Everybody else? All right.
Set?
So,
Motion to adjourn?
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.
10:10 p.m.
Thank you.